Hi guys, welcome back to Sim UK and FSW, which is Dovetail Games Flight Sim World, for those of you who don't know. It's been a while actually since I've played on this. I completed quite a few of the missions and quite a lot of the training, but I did that all in the space of a couple of days and then just put them up live over a period of weeks. So since I last played, there have been quite a few updates. Now, if you watch my initial reviews, you'll remember that if I were in, at the moment I'm in windowed mode, you can see how everything's performing as it should. But if I swapped to full screen mode, everything would grind to a halt. So I'm just going to test that right now. So obviously holding the Alt button and hitting enter switches you from windowed mode to full mode. So I'm currently in full mode and full screen mode, and everything seems to be running exactly as it should be. So well done, Dovetail Games. You appear to fix that problem. I am very glad to say. So I can now play in full screen mode. I might even be able to play 3-screen split. If you recall from my review, if I made my 3 screens into one massive screen, it worked absolutely fine. So I see no reason why now using multiple monitors shouldn't work the same way. But today, I'm not really going to focus on that so much. Today is, well, it's a continuation of training. Let's just go to the training area over here at Waltham Flying Club. And you can see that we've completed all of the 5 initial missions, and the only thing that's left is the skills test. But in order to be able to take the skills test for light aircraft pilot's license, we will need to accrue 3 hours of solo flight time in the free flight mode before we can attempt this lesson. So that's what I'm going to do today. Not 3-hour flight, but the first of 3 hour-long flights, or maybe the first of 4 45-minute flights. So I've got a flight set up today, which I'll just load here. And it's a flight that has a lot more meaning than probably any other flight I'm likely to do on Flight Sim World. I'm going to fly from Shoreham to Manchester, and this is just purely a mark of respect for those who died at the Shoreham Air disaster, the Shoreham Airshow disaster, and those who were killed at Manchester Arena just a few short months ago. This was recommended to me by one of the viewers, and I thought it was a good idea, but I didn't want to do it too early. So I've kind of delayed on it a little bit, and I know it's not going to help anything, but it's just a way, hopefully, of showing the friends and family of victims at either of those 2 disasters that, you know, it's an indication that everybody in Britain really does feel your pain, and want to offer you their heartfelt support in any way we can. That's all it is today. So I'm expecting a nice straightforward flight, specifically set up to be in the springtime, perfect flight conditions. We're going to take out the PA-46 Malibu Mirage, primarily because this is the fastest of all the GA aircraft available in FSW at the moment. It has the fastest rate of climb, the highest ceiling, I believe. Let me just check that. Yeah. The highest ceiling, the fastest rate climb, and the longest range. That's what I was struggling to say. So, yeah, I mean, we're still very much in beginner mode. So I'm not going to be doing anything too technical. So be VFR. So this should take about 45 minutes, guys, and hopefully we'll fly low and slow. Hopefully it'll be a good flight. Okay guys, so here we are in the Mirage for the first time. Let's get a notch of flaps, let's go for 2, let's just go full flaps. I don't think this runway is that long. We are ready to go. Make sure the prop and the mixture are set to full. Autopilot is here. Set nav to that. That's affecting heading. Whoops. Reset that to the way we're facing. And we don't have to do anything with the GPS, that's already preset in. In fact, we'll probably fly using GPS rather than a heading bug. So I just want to set the altitude. Oh, there we go. So we're going to cruise around 2,000 feet today. Just low enough that we hit the clouds. Sorry, try again. Just high enough that we hit some clouds, but low enough that we can see all this lovely ground scenery and stuff. Right, for want of a better word, I think we're set and ready to go. Let's power up. Get this bird in the sky. Now I don't know enough about the Mirage to know what the best cruising speed is, what the best takeoff speed is. So I'm just going to gently pull back on the stick and let the bird tell me when she's ready to go. Which hopefully is going to be really bloody soon, because those trees are looking close. Alrighty. Now I'm going to climb out at about 80 knots. I don't know that that's the correct or best climbing speed for this aircraft, but she feels pretty stable like that, and I'm happy to stick with it. And I don't actually know what button brings my landing gear up. That's a bit of an issue, isn't it? We'll just use the keyboard for now. I have bound it to something, sorry guys. Just for the life of me I couldn't remember what I'd bound it to. Okay, so our speed has come up as a result of that, which is good. Let's try and get on nav heading. Set that to GPS. Right, and also altitude on, right, get some sort of control over this aircraft now. Coming up to 2,000 feet. Should level out. And then we can have a nice, excuse me, a nice, easy, controlled flight with lots of of viewing. Yeah, we seem to be on the GPS, that's good. Altitude seems to be almost at 2,000 feet. 2000 or is that 200? Or is that 2200? Right, okay. 200 on here, I think, is 2,000 feet. So let's just roll back the engine a tad. So I don't want to overstress the engine. Now, there's no manuals in here, no information about cruise speed, settings, anything like that. Bring the prop and the mixture back just a tad there, and I think we should be good. Smooth and stable flight at 2,000 feet. I can take my hands off the controls now. Fairly confident that we're going to cruise nicely. We can just absorb in some of this really quite impressive scenery. I was kind of half comparing this game to X-Plane 11 the other day, and X-Plane 11 looks absolutely fantastic. I think probably out of the two, X-Plane 11 looks best straight out the box. Certainly the roadways are more accurate. But I don't know, I kind of almost feel like what I assume are fake roadways here in FSW kind of look more realistic, which almost makes no sense, but that's kind of a gut reaction. Anyway guys, there's a cub up there, keep my eyes on that. We're not using ATC today. In future lessons that will be part of the training, so we'll just let the game teach us that. I'm not using VOR. We're going to go all GPS today. I have used VOR in the past, but I'm a little bit rusty and certainly not ready to do that. So we're VFR via GPS today at 2,000 feet. We're going to use autopilot pretty much the whole way there and then bring her into land. I think that's the best way to do it at the moment. To be honest with you, as this is part of our light aircraft pilot's license training, that Piper can't be coming into land, can it? There's no way it's going to land at that airport. Since this is part of our flight training, I would not really expect to be up in an aircraft on my own at this point. But, you know, at some point you've got to take your first solo flight, and that's what I'm doing today, I suppose. There's another Piper just taking off there, or just coming into land. This could be close, actually, this second one. Not too worried about that guy up there, but this guy here is very much about our height, and we're not far off having a close collision. I might have to switch the nav off for a second and divert, but without ATC I mean, I'm not getting any radio comms about that aircraft whatsoever. Does look as though he's coming into land, doesn't it? As soon as we're swinging straight across the front of that. I think we're going to be okay. I think we're just slightly above him. Can't tell where the other one's gone. I've lost both of them. That's not good. Just nip outside. It's all the way over there. I mean, that's pretty close. You wouldn't really want to get any closer than that, I don't think. What a fantastic aircraft this Mirage is, though. Look at this. That is a feisty looking GA. Very nice indeed. There's the other pipelet all the way over there somewhere. Cherokee. So it's a PA-18. Maybe that's the third aircraft. It's quite busy out here today, it seems. Do a bit of wingtip. There's the Cherokee 180. PA-18 was over in this general direction. There he is. That's pretty close. Yeah, you definitely wouldn't want to get any closer than that. Other than that, I think we are kind of safe. Let's just check how far we have to go. Quite a distance, guys, quite a distance. So what I'll do, I mean, we're right on the limit here. I'll just drop the engine back a little bit. Get ourselves back in the accepted safe airspeed indicator area. I think red is imminent destruction. Yellow, I'm feeling... Now, I have done training on this. I actually did some PAPL license training a year or two back, but honestly nothing is coming to mind at the moment. I know this green section here is safe landing gear. Give it a tad more, but yeah, white I think is safe airspeed operation for the aircraft, and this yellow is, you know, safe but stressing the engine out or whatever. Oh, there we go. PA-18. I knew there was a PA-18 somewhere. And there's Cherokee 118. Okay, no problem. They're quite a way off now to the port. Oh, what's that? Was that a third, fourth aircraft, or was that the other PA-18? Can't see it. Cannot see it. Hardly any cloud up today. So yeah, FSW, they've had quite a bit of quite a few updates since I last played. The latest one is update 5, where they've been prioritizing the RV7, I think, is the aircraft that has most recently had a lick of new paint and updates and what have you, which is cool. But as soon as we're flying quite a distance today, I just felt like this was the correct aircraft to be flying, really. So Manchester Airport, oh, there's another piper literally smack bang in front of us. Have to keep an eye on that, obviously. Manchester Airport could be quite busy, so we're just going to have to slot in somehow, because like I say, we have no ATC today. We ought to have, if we were really flying from Shoreham to Manchester. Incidentally, a little bit of I don't know, information, if you will. The Shoreham Airport is the oldest custom-built passenger airline airport. We'll get there in a minute. Wow, we've got a lot of pipers up. Yeah, the oldest custom-built passenger airport, which is quite a cool claim to fame. And there's an impressively Art Deco central building there, which still stands despite the air disaster, thankfully. And if you like Art Deco, it's quite something to behold. This Piper Cub is really, really close, and I've just got a text message. So I'm trying to. Okay, that's fine. This Piper is close. What have we got out here? Another Piper Super Cub. Wish I could zoom in. I think we're safe. This PA-18 down here is yeah, it's landing at that airfield. That's fine. Does make me wonder whether this PA-18 over here is coming into land, but I think we're cruising along at a speed which keeps us just out of his way, which is good. Oh, oh, bit of turbulence there. We are dropping. Now we're. Oh, yes. Big turbulence. Dropped 150 foot there. Excuse me, we dropped nearly 100 foot there. Wow. I'm keeping an eye on this, but I'm letting the autopilot cope, and cope it did. That would have been quite a scary moment for any passengers I might have had. Another Piper Cub over that side. PA-18, that must be a P3, is it? 3-3? Not sure what that is. 3-3 Cub. Oh! Another PA-18 Super Cub. Goodness me. They're rife in this area, aren't they? So, as far as FSW goes, I guess if you compare it to FSX, I mean, it's a marked improvement, isn't it? it is a marked improvement. And to be honest, back when this was first announced, this would have been exactly what people were hoping for. Boosting, bringing it up to standards, making it 64-bit, turning it into a DX11 application. People would have been happy, and performance-wise, solid 30-ish on pretty high settings. I don't think I'm on Ultra, but then I'm only running GTX 970, which is quite old now. My CPU is an i7, but it's 3440, which is also quite old now. 16 gig of RAM, 2600 megahertz, also quite old now. So far so good. So yeah, I mean, in comparison to FSX, this is a marked improvement. And I mean, it still looks like FSX, it still feels like FSX, but FSX enhanced, improved, updated. And from that perspective, I think they've done really well. Now, if they can somehow tie in a method by which previous add-ons can work with this, I think it's going to be a massive success. Where it might struggle, as everybody has said before me, and I'm more or less just reiterating other people's points of view because I agree with them, it depends now on how Dovetail approach their DLC, because Dovetail are all about DLC. We know this from Train Sim. Bit of turbulence. Oh wow, that's nothing in comparison to what we had before, but there's a bit. It's enough to make you feel it. Oh, blimey. I must say the autopilot's doing an absolutely brilliant job of maintaining heading and altitude. One thing I do like, and something that I'm really going to take advantage of, are the workshop missions that are available. For me, other than the fact I didn't like X-Plane 10's UI, which has now obviously been updated as part of X-Plane 11 and is no longer a problem for me, the one other thing that always kept me loyal to FSX were the missions and the mission editor, and the fact that they've retained that, although in my humble opinion that mission editor needs a massive UI kick up the arse. It hasn't changed at all. I know there's been an update recently actually which I haven't checked out, but I rather suspect it's going to look exactly the same. Quite a few people have managed to put some workshop missions up, and I intend on flying those and taking full advantage of them. And that's one of the coolest things about simulation. Now, I'm discovering since starting the channel there are two types of sim fans. There are the real life. I'm going to make up two terms, but I might change them in the future. I'm going to say the real life simmers and the real experience simmers. So I'm all about ultimate realism, and that includes the full experience. I like in FSW having the option. A bit more turbulence there, not too bad. I like in FSW having the option, or even possibly you could argue the necessity, to obtain different licenses before being able to fly different aircraft. I like that. That, to me, is ultimate realism. Now, there are the other types of ultimate realism enthusiasts who want the aircraft to fly realistically, behave realistically, realistic weather. Incidentally, there's a weather update coming for X-Plane 11, which is cool. But they're less interested in the simulated, obtaining licenses and so on and so forth. They're not really interested in that. Mechanical failures, they don't want them. They just want to be able to get into an aircraft and fly it. And that's absolutely fine. I have nothing against anybody who wants to do that. Equally, I have nothing against those who, may be complete novices who want to be able to get in an aircraft and not have to know any of the controls whatsoever, pretty much like what I'm doing today, I suppose. Not know how to fly in any way, shape or form, left or right, up or down. Just jump in an aeroplane and fly it around for 20 minutes and then crash and burn. That's fine. That is absolutely fine. If that's what you want from your flying experience, then go right ahead. No problem at all. What I'm trying to do with Sim UK is the ultimate experience, which is why I'm doing the licenses, which is why I do the challenges. It's all very well saying I'm going to fly from point A to point B. Wow, that is some turbulence there, isn't it? It's all very well saying I want to fly from point A to point B to drop some passengers off, or cargo, or whatever, and making up a little role play scenario for yourself. That's great. But in the real world, there are people who have that option, but they're usually the very, very rich, and they just fly for fun, which is fine, and that is part of flying. I would never want to take that away from anybody, but for me, I would say possible part failures in mid-air should be a factor. Now, I've turned it off for today because this is a flight of respect, and I absolutely do not want anything to go wrong. So I don't have that on today, but ordinarily that is always on. Now, the strange and silly thing about that, the thing that I'm torn with at the moment, is that I haven't had any training to deal with. Well, I've had a bit of training, I suppose you could argue. If my engine failed, I'd be looking to glide into an airport, but if it were to fail right now at 2,000 feet, I'm not sure where I'd put it down, possibly on that road over there. But this is part of flying. Whilst I'm sat here looking around and enjoying the lovely scenery, looking at the clouds and obviously keeping an eye out for other aircraft, I am equally expected to be looking around for suitable areas to crash land, making mental notes of the nearest airport and possibly utilising the GPS to find the nearest airport, having that information available to me, having pre-planned that before taking off. That's real flying for me. That's ultimate flying. But there are plenty of people who don't want all that hassle. Like, there's an airport there, so I'll mentally note that, and should I need to suddenly make an emergency landing, that is most likely where I'm going to try and get to. And from here, it's possible we could do that at 2,000 feet. I think it might be a task. It might not happen, but definitely it's the right thing to try, I think. Maybe en route I'll find a better, like there's quite a big field there that might be big enough to land in, I don't know. But that's you know, that's absolutely fine, and it's kind of where I am, I suppose, is I'm the ultimate realism in. I want it as difficult and demanding and stressful and complicated as possible. Now that means that my learning curve is far higher than some people, and a lot of people who want that more relaxed, chilled out experience are real life pilots. So it's a case of each their own. Sorry, I need to grab some water, which I just had down on the floor there. It is each to their own. Now, what's been announced in FSW? Hang on a sec. Excuse me, water required. There we go. Yeah, what they've announced in FSW that you won't see and haven't seen in any other flight simulator is passengers. Now, going back to what I was just saying about the real life experience, for me, having an aircraft is generally about taking something or somebody from point A to point B. That's the point of being a pilot. Now, sometimes if it's your own jet, you're just taking yourself, but normally you're taking yourself to a specific place for a specific reason. Like the hamburger scenario that I mentioned a few weeks ago, which is, you know, you wouldn't get that in Britain, but in America, I think it's called I've forgotten already, the $100 hamburger or something. People used to fly over, get fuel and buy a hamburger because it's the cheapest place around to buy fuel or something like that. I forget exactly what the scenario is, but again, you know, there's a reason for that. And what I love about FSX and FSW is that you have these missions, and soon we're going to have passengers. Now, if we're going to have passengers, oh yeah, a bit more turbulence. It's not the worst we've had today. Ultimate faith in the autopilot seems to have settled us down nicely. Where was that airport? Is there another one over there? Possibly. Anyway, possibly, and I don't know if that's what they're thinking, but an economy system in FSW. So whereas we've all had and experienced an FSX third-party add-on like air haulage or air hauler, whatever it's called. I've actually got Air Hauler 2, never played it because I bought it when it was still in alpha, and I don't think it's ever come out of alpha. It was a bit of a cash-in by the developers, I think. It seems to be very fully functioning, but I just haven't really taken advantage of it. Now, maybe FSW are thinking they're going to include something like that in this game. Now, if that's the case, then it really is going to be offering something that games like X-Plane 11 and that don't. And some of you may have seen my sail away videos either recently or periodically, but I raised the question a few weeks ago whether or not we need an economy system and survival system within sail away, because that is part of sailing, in my humble opinion. You know, there's a reason to go somewhere, and you got to keep yourself fed, you got to keep yourself topped up on water, and make sure you have fuel if you have an engine. and the weather's not suitable for sailing. I think they're all important parts of sailing, and to neglect them from a simulator as good as Sail Away, I think would be a shame. Now, I'm in no rush to get anything like that. Sail Away is still in alpha, but I just felt it was worth a discussion. And what I learned from that is that there are people who really are against that, and they don't see that as being part of the simulation experience. And that's fine. I don't agree with their opinion per se, but I do respect it. Now, FSW might not be the eye candy that X-Plane 11 is. It might not have the flight physics that X-Plane 11 already has. That's not to say that those two things are not going to come in the future. But if they were to start offering things like real weather and an economy system, passengers, a career system, then this is going to be a fully functioning, all-absorbing experience that people will come back to more and more. And I think it's good enough already for people to get excited by that and really get involved in it. So that was quite a long-winded explanation of whatever the heck it was I started saying and ended up swaying into that arena. But yeah, I guess at the end of the day, I appreciate that not everybody's into that. So there needs to they need to retain the ability that you can turn all that career stuff off and just fly, and turn off random engine failures so that you can guarantee you're going to reach your destination without all the stress and aggravation. That's fine too. And I think it's probably quite important that you include that as part of the game. But my word, if this suddenly had passengers in the back that were making weird requests, maybe somebody has a medical emergency in the back of the aircraft, and suddenly you've got to find somewhere to land, you have to radio the nearest airport, which just happens to be smack bang in front of us there, right below us. Just going to be careful that no PA-18s take off and slam into our undercarriage. Looks like this PA-18 Super Cub might be coming in to land off our left. Can't really see anything else below us. Again, because I haven't got ATC set up, I'm not getting any reports coming in. Flying over a pretty heavy populated area now. I'm not entirely sure where we are, if I'm being honest, but FPS has taken a hit. Dropped down to 18 FPS there, but we're back up to 25, 26. It seems fairly stable. And really quite densely populated. There's a football pitch down there. That's quite cool. So guys, I mean, if you're looking for photorealistic gaming, then I think it's coming in the next 10 years. This could be photorealistic, quite literally. But it's going to require some serious PCs to cope with that. If you haven't checked out Unreal Engine 4's latest photorealistic experiments, then I recommend that you do. There are a number of flats and a forest, I believe, that you can walk through. Literally, have a walk through, maybe even pick stuff up and use it, but it's all photorealistic. Now, to look at it as an image, it looks photorealistic. It's like looking at a photograph. In my humble opinion, as you walk through it, you can tell that it's not real, if you know what I mean. But you wouldn't necessarily expect that. It is incredibly close to looking as real can be. I mean, right on the brink of being absolutely total realism. Now, if you chuck a VR set in somewhere like that, then you're going to get a level of immersion that is just out of this world and amazing. But to do it on a scale like this, that's going to take some processing power. That is going to take some serious processing power. Now, the fact that Unreal Engine 4 is capable of such hugely photorealistic gamesplay is a very good sign for games that are built using the Unreal Engine, like Fernbus Coach Simulator and soon to be released CBS Berlin, which is also by TML Studios. And if you haven't looked at the photographs of that, that is looking very photorealistic, I have to say. Very impressive stuff. But to do it on a scale like this, maybe 10 years isn't enough time, but we are heading in that direction, and it is amazing to see. But eye candy is important, but I've always felt and I've always maintained that gameplay has to be number one. Now, whether gameplay it means fun and exciting and engaging, or whether gameplay means realistic, authentic, and as true to life as possible, or whether it's a combination of all of those things, is a very bespoke, unique thing that each individual will have their own opinion on. That's what I've discovered in recent weeks. I always felt that there were ultimate realism enthusiasts like me that want everything, but it turns out there's not, you know. Even if you come across two ultimate realisms, they want the experience to be as ultimately realistic as humanly possible. They're still not necessarily going to agree on how important the eye candy is, how important FPS is. I mean, I think for most people, FPS is pretty high up on the level of importance, because if you're glitching as you're flying, then that detracts from A, from the level of realism, B, from the immersion, C, from the eye candy and authenticity of that. So FPS is obviously high up there. Now, if I were to lose a little bit of detail on the ground in favour of smooth running, I think I'd be quite happy to do that. But not all ultimate realism simulator fans are like that, which is fine, and it's interesting. I mean, I'm learning this. This is good for me to understand this. Sim UK is a place where I'm not an expert at any simulation game, really. In my humble opinion, I can improve on everything I do, and that's really part of it. There's an age-old saying for sailors, and the same applies for pilots, really. There are three types of pilot/captain: dead ones, retired ones, and rookies. And that really is the way that you ought to be looking at this. You never know so much that you are beyond having an accident, you never know so much that you can't make a mistake. And in all of these situations that is true. Look at these radio masts. God, they look really high, don't they? I don't imagine they are 2,000 foot high, but looks like we're only just clearing them. Looks like there should be a body of water off to our right there, but I just can't see it. If that is what that means. Maybe it's closer to the aircraft than I realise. Ah, there it is. It was there all along. Hidden below my wing. So we've got quite a way to go, guys. 45 minutes in. Now, the estimated flight time was 45 minutes, which I thought was pretty quick. Maybe I don't have this aircraft perfectly trimmed out in terms of prop and mixture. Maybe I could be getting more out of this aircraft. But I don't know the internals of this aircraft, and there don't appear to be any books, manuals available to me. Oh, that's cool. It's either on or off there. Looks like. What do we have here? Fuel pump, battery, engine 1 magneto. That's both. What's this on the left? They're both the same thing? Okay, fine. Alternator, both the same. Landing lights currently off. They're currently off. Navigation lights off. They should be on. Or were they on? I'm not entirely sure if they're on or off. Let's just take a look outside. Okay, that confirms that then. Whatever's in the brackets is its current state. Rotating beacon switch is on. I'm not entirely sure what an annunciator mode is. Digit indicator is running. Cabin pressure is safe. That's not too big a deal at this kind of height. So yeah, I think we probably could have gone a bit faster. not a million miles away now from Manchester. It's been a while since I set up a landing procedure. Select approach. How do I select down? I'm guessing we want GPS 23 left, but how do I bring it down? This one? No. Wow, it's been a while since I used GPS. Oh, there we go. Did I not enter that? I don't think I did I? Try that again. It's the outer ring, isn't it? That's where I was going wrong. Okay. Activate vectors to final. Now, I literally about a year ago I got to the point where I knew what I was doing here, but I'm feeling a bit confused now. I'm going to try and hit enter here. Now GPS has disconnected, but there seems to be no recognition now on the screen as to what vectors we're running. But 23 left is where we're presumably looking to go. It'd be nice if I could see that. I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit concerned about the angle we're taking here. Let's keep this up on the screen for now. Let's bring it down here a tad. I mean, this is a nice thing, actually. Speaking about how much better this is than FSX, I mean, this works. Whereas in FSX, I used to get all sorts of problems with this. Going to be interesting, this. Are we going to make it? I hope so. I'm thinking the airport should come into view fairly soon here. And I think I've activated GPS vectors correctly for runway 23 left, but I am a complete rookie. It's been a long time since I used GPS to navigate a flight, so I may have made a horrendous mistake here. In fact, I've probably made hundreds of horrendous mistakes here, but it's all about enjoying and learning the experience, and that's what I'm trying to convey with SimUK is, you know, I'm not like many of these massive YouTubers. I'm not massively experienced. I don't know how to deal with an engine failure at 2,000 feet. I'll do my best. I know some of the logic, and you know, if it ever happens, I'll probably learn something. But what I'm quite happy to do is continue learning, continue trying, continue making mistakes, continue learning from those mistakes, and sharing that entire experience with you guys. That's kind of what SimUK is all about. I'm not pretending to be... I actually get quite a few harsh comments from people who sort of point out that I'm maybe not as good a pilot or driver or train operator as I should be, or I'm not as good as they are, or I did something in the incorrect order. And it's okay. Thanks for telling me. You know, if you tell me in a constructive way, then you're helping me, and that's great. But sometimes people take it upon themselves to be condescending and rude about it, and I just don't understand that kind of approach, if I'm being totally honest. It feels to me like you know, they're condemning you because you haven't learned something they have, rather than sharing their knowledge with you. And I'm all about sharing knowledge and you know, allowing everybody to have fun. And if you've been watching SimUK for a long time now, you might be one of the many people I've helped in various different ways, and that's what I'm here for, really. I'm also here to have fun myself and to learn myself, but by putting the videos up like this, where clearly I'm not 100% sure of what I'm doing, you can see where I started out, and it will help you in your own journey, I hope. It'll also give you you know, hopefully a year from now I'm going to be far more experienced and capable, and it'll give you a jolly good understanding of whereabouts you are in terms of your own personal experience. Now, a bit distracted here. On the GPS, it looks like the airport is imminently coming up upon us. So I'm curious what's going to happen here. I don't know whether to activate don't know whether or not to activate vectors to final. But we've done that already. Now, runway 23 left is here, I think. So I'm not, because I don't know what the GPS is about to do. There we go, there's our... I'm hesitant to do anything. And that might have been the wrong thing to do. I don't think that is 23 left, because that would be runway 30. What I need to do is get the flipping Manchester Airport up on here on my phone. Get some charts up. Oh, I'm having to download it. I mean, we're a good length out now. This could be a perfect approach, actually. I mean, if we turn in now, we're spot on, and I'll happily take the controls back. But if we don't turn in, I'm going to be a bit bemused. So we've got a message popping up here. It doesn't show on here, which is weird. Here we go, we're turning in. Perfect. I think we got the GPS set up correctly. Absolutely spot on. This is another thing that was a bit of an issue with FSX, where things were updated over time and runways were not. Quite often your vectors to approach would be wrong. You'd be in a right sticky mess. Right, business time. Now I'm not sure when technically I ought to disengage the autopilot, but I'm going to wait until we're kind of on a 2-3 vector. And then I think I'll take it from there. Got a message coming up apparently. Pardon me. Looking really good. Okay, so I'm going to take it from here. Now 2-3 left. I'm not entirely sure which one of those two. Is it the big ass one in front of us, or is it the other one? Let's just see here. I think it's the big ass one in front of us. No, it must be this one. It must be the smaller runway to the left, because that big one looks decidedly more suited to large aircraft. Plus we're on the glide slope of the left hand runway, whereas we're not on the glide slope of the big runway there. So I'm going to make an executive decision, rightly or wrongly. That's where we're heading. to bring some flaps down. Drop some speed. So our landing gear is not down yet, so we're a bit high. Take some more speed off. Oh, now we're way too high. 2 notches of flaps. I'll get back on that glide slope. Gear down. Bring the speed back up just a tad. Okay, we're back on the glide slope now. Final notch of flaps. Now, have you seen my Spitfire landing? You'll know how... Oh god, we're too low. Way too low. You'll know how how little I like tail draggers. And landing a tail dragger is way more difficult, in my humble opinion. We are way too low here. This landing is a classic example of my lack of piloting skills. I mean, we're safe. We're not so low that it's dangerous, but we are clearly we are low. But we should come in fine. This is still looking like a perfectly achievable and comfortable landing. Powering off. Looking to flare. That was a bit early. Nice gentle flight. Nice gentle landing. Obviously we have no ATC. And I'm kind of looking for a slipway here, but maybe we don't have any on this runway. It looks like that's a successful landing then, guys. It doesn't appear to be an off-ramp. Our flight hours have been updated, so I'm just going to come off the end. Well, I don't know. Should I wait till we get down the bottom there? Maybe that's the off ramp down there. So anyway, guys, that's well, first of all, that is my mark of respect to those families and friends and family members of victims from the from the Shoreham Airshow Disaster and from Manchester Arena. Heartfelt condolences go out to everybody involved there. And I hope that the flight was entertaining and enjoyable for you, and that my goodwilled intentions have been conveyed appropriately. And also, it's a step towards obtaining the LAPL So I'm having some issues with the brakes here. Not having brakes on my feet is a bit of a tricky scenario for me. So yeah, it just looks like we can only turn around at the bottom here and there's nowhere to park up, so I might just find an appropriate spot and stop. In fact, you know, we might fly out from Manchester again, because we've got to get 3 hours of flight time in before we can unlock the final license. So yeah, thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's flight, and I'm going to look to find a new route for us to take from here, and hopefully you'll join me for that. And if you have any constructive, helpful feedback for me, then please let me know in the comments section. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and goodbye for now.